We're on camera here, which is lovely, but that's just for the sake of capturing the interest. So today, to welcome for you all a special treat, we have someone who I hold in high esteem, the highest esteem possible. A massive stature of a man, not to be reckoned with. I'd like to welcome to the stage today Mr. Andy FURNEAUX.
Good morning, and thank you very much indeed for having me.
That was my best, waiting for the call to come through from Fox Studios for the guy who now introduces movies at cinemas or something. It's never going to happen.
I'm not sure I've ever had such an introduction like that.
I don't think you have. I don't think you'll ever have like it again. It was that bad. No one would ever do it again. I just like to chuck a big chuck out to the colour orange today, which we're sporting with the lighting and the clothes and everything going
Wonderful.
on.
I'm appreciating the effort.
It's great for our tones, our skin tones, makes us look wonderful.
Absolutely.
So it's wonderful to have you here, and thank you. For anyone listening, this is basically just a really lovely one-to-one with Mr. Andrew FURNEAUX. This podcast may go far and wide in the hospice atmosphere, so I suppose I should keep some kind of level of decorum and professionalism of how we present this. To give a bit of a tone and an agenda to it, I am a massive fan of Mr. FURNEAUX, and as a result of that, I am a massive fan of the hospice, and I've had the opportunity to mix around with the hospice a bit and do bits and pieces, and we're taking the opportunity today to get to know Mr. FURNEAUX a little bit better, as well as then understanding what the hospice does and the direction that it's going in, and so that if you're a listener to this today, you can have a better understanding of what's going on in the background, because there are people like Mr. FURNEAUX who are out on the streets beating doors and talking about charity and donation, but I think perhaps what gets missed in the message of that, because people hear charity and they say, oh, okay, well, it's a charity, so you just give to people and that's it. But what does it actually look like? And we'll get into that. What does it actually look like? What are the stories of the results of the charity that people do that then adds more weight and gravitas to the reason why you're out in the streets banging the drawers and so grateful for every single pound that you squeeze out of any situation? And then that is going to help us send a message.
Absolutely.
Does that all sound good?
Sounds perfect to me.
Good. So we've got some questions here which we're going to run into, but I would love, before we go into the hospice questions, I'd love to ask a few more about you.
Please do.
So you're being in the hospice and doing the work you do is a calling, I would say. I would imagine it's a calling because you have to be tirelessly motivated, committed, completely deep end. I can't imagine anyone who comes into the hospice to do work that is halfway there in that kind of mindset stays for very long, maybe a year, and then they float out, right? I'd imagine, right? The people who are there are most probably the people who are completely absorbed all their whole lives. They've got St. Francis Hospice mugs at home and the kettles are orange and all the ins and outs of this stuff. So could you give us a little bit of background about you and how you've arrived at the hospice and what the journey was like, and when, I'd love to know when you got your calling. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. And that's a fantastic opening question, because I didn't have any association with St. Francis Hospice or any hospice. I don't come from a fundraising background whatsoever. I come from a family of printers, and it's funny that you use the word "your calling." I think that's really important, because when I was at school, Mr. Sheely, every school report that I ever had was talks too much, easily distracted, class clown.
I think that's why we get on so well.
Maybe. And I was always kind of distracted. I always wanted to be entertaining people. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, what it was. But I come from a family of printers, and back when I was 16, my father, my oldest brother, was like, you must get yourself in a trade, you'll be set up for life.
Which is good advice.
And you follow suit.
When you're 16, it's good
and
advice.
You follow suit. So for 26 years, I run printing machines and everything within that industry without ever really enjoying it. But it gave me a way of life, and it bought my house, and it raised my children, etc., etc. But your question about how I come to get involved with the hospice is generally what happens with a lot of people.
Okay.
My best friend, as I was growing up, Every weekend I'd be with his family on camping weekends and things like that. I spent a whole lifetime with this family. Like yourself, you probably have that special someone, you're part of their extended family because you spend so much time with them. So my friend was one of 4 kiddies, and his mum and dad both worked hard. And when all the children grew up, his mum had always had this burning desire to be a teacher. So when all the children had been raised, she went back to adult college, done all of her graduation, and became a teacher. And more importantly, it was her ambition to teach at the school we used to go to as kids. And she achieved her ambition, and she was flying as a teacher. So she worked in one local school in Collier Row, Romford, Essex, and then she worked at another. So these guys had been in my life all of my life. And my friend was leading up towards his wedding. He was maybe a year and a half away from his wedding. And all of a sudden, his mum got sick. But she got really sick. And the deterioration was rapid.
What was it, cancer?
Yes. And she went from somebody that we knew and loved so well to somebody unrecognisable. And I wouldn't just say that she was suffering, I would say that the whole family was suffering, because mums are the gel that keep a family together. There's 4 children. There's grandchildren by now at this time when my friend was getting married. And it was a really, really worrying time. And the more sick that she got, it became her ambition that she would be well enough to be at her son's wedding. And I do remember that everyone was tense about it because it was so rapid. By the time my friend got married, St Francis Hospice were already involved in caring for her. She was having home visits. She was getting hospice at home care. And at this point, she hadn't actually come into the hospice. Now, the way that story goes, Mr. Shealy, is that, yes, she was still alive when her son got married, but she wasn't well enough to attend the wedding. And I remember going to the wedding and feeling a real sadness because I'd been around this family my whole life, and she wasn't there. However, she was still alive. The idea, what they were going to do, was to recreate the wedding photographs, make sure that the bride put her dress on, her son put his attire on, all the page boys, all the ushers, all the bridesmaids, etc., etc. And they'll recreate the photographs so that mum can still be in those photographs. She never made that either.
Oh, wow.
So within 3 to 4 weeks of the wedding, we was at her funeral. So it was a terribly sad time. What was prominent for me is that the family said, we don't want anything other than family flowers. Everybody else to make donations to the local hospice because they'd been incredible. I'd only been hearing things. I hadn't witnessed anything. I didn't go to visit when she was in there. I'd only been hearing things. So bearing in mind that me and my family moved from London to Collier Row in 1969 and the hospice opened around 1984, I'd never had any reason to go there until around 2007.
It was the same place it is now?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and that's the first time I ever walked through those doors as a local man and made a donation in memory of my friend's mum, which is still the reason today that I work for St Francis Hospice, but we'll come back to that. But I made a donation in her memory. And at that point, that's when you start to receive information, literature, because you've become a supporter just by making that donation. And you know yourself, knowledge is power. And all of a sudden I'm reading what this little corner of the world does for its community. So I became a supporter just by way of donation. And then after a while doing a little bit of volunteering. And then the turning point was the fact that for now, 30 odd years, I've been a DJ. I'm now a broadcaster. But back in 2010, I started running my own soul music promotions. And
what's your DJ name?
No, Andy FURNEAUX.
Oh, I see.
To be fair, I am known as the Candy Man.
The Candy Man. Yeah. Lovely.
But I don't take myself too seriously.
Not with a name like the Candy Man.
The reason why I'm the Candy Man is because I put on this event and it was called It's Like Candy and people didn't know my name. They was like, Candy Man.
Yeah.
They didn't know my name.
Does anyone in the hospice know that? They must do.
They do.
Do they call you anything?
No one does that.
Okay. No one should do that either going forward.
No.
Unless you want to get hurt.
It's all good. It's all good. Listen, I have a sense of, you know me.
Yes.
I have the ability to laugh at myself.
I'm so glad you do.
Make fun of myself. Listen, I'm a 5'2" out of work garden gnome. So, yeah, more importantly, I started these soul promotions. The idea behind it was that we were going to donate to worthy causes.
Yeah.
I had a friend at the time who was living with muscular dystrophy. So the first event I ever did was for the muscular dystrophy campaign, and we gave all that money away. Second event was for Great Ormond Street, and we gave all that money away. And the third event, because of my friend's mum, was for St Francis Hospice. Now, the story goes like this. When you make a donation to an organisation like that, you usually get a tour, just like the one you got,
Yes.
to show where any money would be used. And the printing job that I was in, the big contract that we had was in jeopardy. And I remember paying the money into the hospice and saying, look, I will need to do the tour at a later date because I've got to find work. It looks like I'm going to lose my job. Head of fundraising was cool with that, no problem. I got in touch about a month later and I said, I want to do the tour now. She said, what happened with your job? Did you find work? And I said, no, I'm still looking. She said, you know what? They're putting together a small team here at the hospice to go out and speak to people about the work of the hospice.
Yeah.
And you would be ideal.
Yeah.
12 years ago.
Bomb. That was it.
12 years ago.
12 years. I bet that's flown by as well, right?
Absolutely it has.
Do you know, it sounds, that the way that person delivered that to you was like crack cocaine to an addict. Because she sounds just like the entry to the A-Team advert. We're putting together a crack team going out into the local area, and you're like, oh my God, it sounds exactly like what I'd want to do. And obviously you was invested in what the hospice done. You was already there. And I suppose in your first, your starting point with that would have been just, oh, well, I'm not doing anything else. And you would have said humbly, well, how much is the salary? And and they've gone, well, it's this. And you've gone, all right, well, I suppose, if it's a year, I'm doing some good, I'm going to get some salary. If something pops up better in the interim, then I'm covered. So it's all win-win-win. You
wouldn't believe how accurate you are.
Of course I am.
Because I didn't actually ask about the salary.
Oh, okay.
But the position, and it was a pilot scheme as well.
Yeah.
What they were bringing people in. It was a part-time position.
There you go. So it's better than nothing kind of thing. And then you got in and you were like...
But I'd been made redundant. So what I was going to do, I don't have a crazy lifestyle. So what I was going to do was I was going to use the redundancy and the part-time salary and just make a go of it and see what happened. And after a year, they were happy enough to offer me a full-time contract.
That was it. And you never looked back. And then you just went deeper and deeper.
Much.
Yes.
Much.
Of course. You must open your wardrobe up and it just must be like an onslaught of orange.
How do you know me so well?
Because I know. Because this is how I would be.
So my girls are like, they're 30 and almost 28. And they go, Dad, like, what is wrong with you? You're the only person we know that's still wearing a lanyard at 9:30 p.m. at night.
Yes.
But exactly what you just said about the wardrobe, I've got 3 wardrobes in mine, but one of them is all work uniforms.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Absolutely orange.
Of course it is.
You're right.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know that.
No. I know because I know you, because I think we're quite alike. And it's exactly how I would be. Because if you're in, you're in. If you're in, you're in. And if you're in and you're promoting what you're doing, then you're wearing your lanyard and you're wearing your branded gear, and that's how you do it. Because anytime you're not doing that, you're missing an opportunity to promote, even if you're standing in Tesco's with it on.
You're absolutely on the money.
Exactly.
Because the point is, you are and always will be a representative of such a fantastic organisation. So whether you're on duty or off, people will see you. We have such a standing in our community. And as I say to all the staff that I work with, never ever forget who you're representing.
It's true. So that's amazing how you got into that. I'm really glad I asked that because I never knew the story. And it just goes to show how I think, and that's what I love about that whole story, irrespective or not taken away from the fact that you've gone into the hospice in its own, that's an amazing thing to have done. But to have discovered your vocation, your calling, that now you in your heart you're like, this is me for life, and it utilises all your skill sets
so
that
I think
God's given you to the absolute best degree.
Going back to what I was saying about the school reports, he talks too much. And do you know what? I talk for a living now. I talk for a living. It's the work that I do is communicating to potential supporters what we do, how they can help, what can be achieved as a result of that support.
Do you know what's so nice about you as well, mate, is that you can turn it on and be proper, have a laugh, madman, which is amazing. And then you can, but at the same time, anyone who looks at you knows that you're incredibly serious. And that's a very hard line to straddle, where you can openly be very relaxed and take the mickey at yourself and jump up and down and do whatever crazy stuff and still be seen in exactly the same breath as someone who's incredibly serious. Like, there's a line, and, you know, I think that just speaks of how confident you are personally and, you know, your personality.
I think it's all about adapting to situations. And I think I helped to run my brother's business for 15 years. And a lot of the time he was on the road. So he trusted me with answering his phones, opening his front door. And he was doing a lot of printing for the NHS. And the print buyers there, they used to spend the money, Mr. Sheely, like it was their own, right? So these were very well educated, very well spoken people. And they would tell you what they was going to pay for the job rather than you're quoting them, right? It was a little bit like that. But I would pick up the phone and these people would be so articulate, and I would handle that situation the way it needed to be handled. As I would put the phone down, the front door would go, and you'd open the door, and Tony the tiler was standing there. All right, geez, I run out of cards. Sort me out, bruv. And you're going from, the diversity was unreal. You'd go from one situation to the next, right? Yeah. It's about being adapting to whatever situation you're in. So going back to what you're saying, I can be dealing with someone on a fundraising perspective and it's a whole load of fun. And the next minute, I'm by the bedside of a patient. Yeah. It's a different ballgame.
I've got a question that speaks in my mind. So I was very lucky to be able to run a marathon, London Marathon it was. I'm sorry, I got my brain in gear. We did that last year on behalf of the charity.
Yes,
we raised money and blah, 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 blah. One of the biggest challenges for any layperson who has supported the hospice and done something for it, whether it be a disco, like we know, or running a marathon or whatever, one of the things I mentally struggled with was doing it straight away again the year after, because you end up, I feel like I just asked the same people again for more money for the same charity. Not that they shouldn't give, but you know what it's like people, I feel, maybe it's a story I'm telling myself that isn't the reality out there. So I just want to dissect that for a second. I feel like, he's asking for more money again. And, well, I've already given him 100 quid, 20 quid, $5 last year. And then you're just going to get less. And so you're banging the drum. So and this I think would help a lot of people listening who've done stuff for the charity, who'd love to do more for the charity, but have a story they're telling themselves that they can't ask the same people again. How do you refresh the way that you approach getting donations to ensure that you're banging the drum and actually getting it and making it appealing and not embarrassing? You know what I'm going with?
Great question.
Please?
Great question.
Thank you.
Because a hospice's work is never done. Our hospice is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So the run that you done, and we must come back to that, but the run that you done and the support that you generated supported those people at the time who was in need. But let's say the people that are running this year, they're supporting the patients at the moment, but there'll be another patient tomorrow. Yeah. After that,
because of the nature of the hospice.
After that, it's never-ending work, never-ending work, and we'll discuss this several times during the conversation. But it's all about securing the future of our hospice. So it's not even a case of keeping things fresh. The challenge is consistent.
So it's education then, isn't it, I suppose? Because the message you've just given there is something I never really put in my mind. And I suppose no one likes to linger on the reality of the passing of people. Sorry, just to talk about it openly. And the hospice supports people in their final days, weeks of whatever it is.
Yep.
You know, you're not there with people, you know, for months and months and 6 months, and someone's been in a bed for a year. They're there for a month, 2 weeks, 2 months maybe.
You have a very good understanding. You really do. Some people know nothing about hospice care or how it works. I think that's because you've had an education from me and others, but you have a very good understanding. But I can typify what you're saying there. You'll remember me standing up and trying to get support for a brand new thing we were trying called the Jumbulance.
Yeah.
So the Jumbulance... That
was beautiful.
It was.
What a beautiful thing you did.
It was, but what you've just reminded me of something in what you've just said, okay? I volunteered on that Jumbulance 2 nights running, okay? But I would say to you, most of those patients have now passed away.
Yeah.
And when I did what I did at the time and went on the trip...
Can you just tell everyone what the Jumbulance was?
Sure.
Or I can,
so, no, that's great. There is a doctor at St Francis Hospice who also volunteers for another charity called Across. And what Across do, there's a coach that's been transformed into an ambulance, so therefore they call it a Jumbulance because it's like a jumbo ambulance. If you look at a coach, it's a normal coach. One side is all the seats, but the other side, all the seats have been taken out to accommodate beds that can go on. So they'll come up on wheels.
And how many beds in the coach?
There was 4.
4 beds.
4 or 5. But that's all done by hydraulics. The bed comes up to the side of the coach. It goes on. It then comes...
It's like a disabled lift.
Yes,
but
comes up.
built into the coach.
That's it.
Got
and then it comes on. And the idea is what this doctor was doing when she was volunteering with Across, is Across take very sick children over to Lourdes in France on a trip. So what this doctor thought, who works at St Francis Hospice, maybe what we could do is use the same coach and take our patients who are with us around the Christmas time for a last trip up to London to see the sights and the lights for the very last time. And was it achievable? There's all mechanics that go with it. You have to make sure that every patient's got one-to-one care. You have to make sure that every patient can take one member, maybe 2 members of their family with them. But it had to be financed. And it was a new thing. So it wasn't something where we've been campaigning and working towards. It was a brand new thing. So, as you know, I was invited into this meeting. And I'll be really honest about this. And hopefully it doesn't cause any damage, but I'll be honest. I do the kind of work which is small to medium-sized businesses. And there's a colleague of mine that does the much bigger businesses. And this doctor came in and said, this invoice is going to be around about £1,250. Is this achievable? And my friend, my colleague who works with a bigger business, he was like, I'm not really sure that any of the businesses that I work with will be able to do that.
Really?
And I was thinking,
come on,
that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's a drop in the ocean for some of the big businesses. But he did have an argument. What a lot of the big businesses do, Mr. Shealy, is they map out at the start of the year what they're going to do for the next 12 months. And it's huge sums. It's big commitment.
But it's allocated.
It's allocated. So then what he actually meant was, I don't think they'll think outside the box and go, oh yeah, we'll do that as well. But this was new. And so you can see, I had this enthusiasm. I was like, wow. So when my colleague went, I don't think I really work with any businesses that will be able to do this. And I said, without any overconfidence, without any over-arrogance, I said, I'm going to do my best to get you that money.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best. Because I thought that is achievable. I thought with the way that I work and the small to medium businesses that I do, what I'll do is I'll maybe approach 4, 5, 6 businesses and say, would you like to do this? And that's exactly what I did.
And you got it. Of course you got it.
I got it.
The BNI room helped out with that, I'm sure.
I got, the invoice was £1,250. I got £1,000
at the room.
From the room. That was 5 different supporters. And myself and my partner, after this happened, we sat down, had a conversation and said, look, let's not do Christmas presents for each other, babe. Let's do £125 each. That's the last £250. These people go.
Wow.
That's what we did.
For the benefit of everyone listening, once again, you could be someone listening about the hospice and you don't know anything about it and what we're talking about. Andy's part of a business network where he goes and gets up every week early doors to meet with a lot of local businesses around the hospices area.
That's right.
To promote the hospice, to engage with SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises, and to just encourage people to champion the hospice. Because sometimes people are a hair's breadth away from doing something they've never done before. They just need a little encouragement. Like me, oh yeah, I run a marathon for the hospice, which had never come across my plate before. But sometimes you just need to meet someone passionate that sends you a message at the right time when you feel you want to give back, and all of a sudden you can create wonderful energy. So that's what that is, and that's an amazing thing that you did. And what an amazing thing. I mean, bloody hell. You got 4 or 5 people on a bus who were terminal.
10 patients in total, because we did 5 on the first night, 5 on the second.
And then you took them into London.
Yep.
They most probably, because when you're in the mindset of it's your last days, I imagine you take on a whole new level of appreciation for life and the small things. So the fact that they've gone up and had their senses overwhelmed with lights and the amazing kind of Christmas spirit of it all.
Pure magical.
I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't some tears rolling.
Lots. Funny with me is that when I was on the bus, I held all that together. I was fine.
Yeah.
I was chatting with every patient.
You was in the zone.
Yeah, I was really trying to, make that trip everything to them. I woke up the next morning and one of the nurses who was on board sent me a photograph that had been taken that I didn't know about. Yeah, and this photograph it's a behind picture. And it's a patient who's looking out the window with her hand across the gangway of the coach with her husband the other side.
Holding hands.
Holding hands. And when I got that picture the next day, then I let the emotions go.
God.
And then geared myself up to go and do it all over again that night.
God.
And it's funny,
privilege.
I don't think about it until I talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like, because this is why I love it. It's why I love you so much, because it's just your job, but you're creating moments for people that change their lives. Because who says a moment has to happen when you're 16 that changes the course of your life? Because that is a moment, but that doesn't need to be the only type of moment there is that changes lives. The moment could be 5 minutes before you're passing, and that would change your whole life.
Do you know what I love? I love the people that made that happen. That's what I love. I was able to speak to a room of 90 plus businesses, and there were individuals that I want to do that. I want to make that happen. They're the people I love. They're the ones that have made the difference. I took it to them, but they made it happen.
Do you know what I think personally the hospice should do better? I mean this in the most loving, but it's just me and my own experience. I don't hear enough from you guys. Just however, I know I see you, but I don't feel I get enough emails or this is what's happening and stuff. And I am very much a kind of willing person. Like, I'm sitting with you now thinking, I'd love to do something. I'd love to help in just whatever.
Do you not get the emails then?
Maybe I don't. Maybe there's some reason I don't, but I'm pretty sure I don't.
Because you should. Because going back to my story,
yeah.
Once you make that first commitment, that first donation, then you start to get the information.
I might have missed it. I don't believe I do. Maybe it's just me, and I'm sure that email goes out to thousands of people, but I don't think I'm on the list, and I am a willing person. So maybe a small ask here.
Well, do you know what? On my little...
Who's responsible? Let's call them. Put me on the list.
On my little tick box, that's there. I shall go back today and make sure that Mr. Sheely gets...
Because I'd like to know.
Oh, there's so much that
and
is always going on.
And I do, because I'm trying to do things and whatever. Yeah. So, okay. That's really, I think, I want to make sure I capture some of your questions as well, because this is I love the dialogue and the natural nature of it, but I also know with some of the questions we've got here, there'll be some specific messaging that we want to get out, which we then dive around on. We might not get through all these 15 either, by the way, because you'd be surprised by the time you talk about one question, it's 10 minutes, and 15 all of a sudden in its own is a good 2.5 hours.
I think the way that you and I roll, we could be here all day.
I'd love every minute of it, but I'm not sure the audience would love every minute of it. But those who are still lingering and still going, oh, these are interesting guys. I'm in for a long journey from London to Birmingham. Let's just stay the whole course. Let's make this the best damn podcast they've ever listened to, and hopefully feel inspired at the end of it.
Okay, that's cool.
So the first question you've given me here: is there something unique about St. Francis Hospice that sets them aside from any other hospice in the UK? The USP.
No, there isn't.
Okay.
And that's the wonderful thing about hospices. They are not in competition with one another. They all do the same work. And it all comes down to where you live or where your GP is registered as to what hospice you would be assigned.
And this is a big question. As a layperson, if I suddenly go, oh, you know, I don't know, whoever, my nan or my mother-in-law or whoever is in need, because I might not naturally think to call a hospice up and say, what's the journey?
Not the way it works.
Yeah, how does that work?
Okay.
Yeah, because I've got no idea how that works.
So, although I did, when I did your tour, Mr. Sheedy, I did take you to the referrals hub. Now, what happens is that self-referral is a thing for the future, and it will happen eventually. But at the moment, every referral comes via a healthcare professional. So whether that's your GP, who's completely aware of your case and has been from day one, or whether it's the medical team at the hospital where you are at the moment, or the medical team at the nursing home where you are, or if you're in a residential home, it may be that you've been having hospice at home, but now it's time to come into the inpatient unit. So everything is by referral.
So then does that mean that, and I suppose all the GPs and hospitals in your local area all know about you? You're on their
radar.
Massively. Must be.
Because some illnesses are that complex that it gets to the point where you need specialist end-of-life care. So therefore, it's, within the GP, within that medical professional, they'll think, it's time for the hospice to step in. So, and the wonderful thing about that is it's never decided by one person. The referrals come in, there is a referrals team, and they will look at all the referrals that come in, and it comes down to who has the greater need. And I had this explained to me about 3 years ago. I think you could have somebody who is at home and they're receiving hospice at home and they're dying, but they're comfortable. You could have somebody that's 6 months away from the end of their life. They're in a hideous state. And when that referral comes in, the person who is dying but comfortable doesn't have a greater need than that person who's in horrendous pain, a terrible way. And that person will often come into the hospice, receive treatment, be looked at by the medical team, get better, go home, live longer.
Okay. Do you know, one of the things that struck me, so I was very privileged to be able to have a tour of the hospice and sit with some of your colleagues and have a good chat about the service when we ran the marathon. You graced us, me and the people we did that with the opportunity to walk around and learn a bit more. And one of the things that really struck me, two things there were actually. One was that you said that the hospice provides care in the moment for the person who has a need, but you said they also provide aftercare, psychological support, as it were, for people who are members of the family who have people in the hospice, and part of the charity support, as it were, and the funds go towards helping people deal with the transition, because obviously we're all human beings with emotions, and people who are moving through the hospice are people who have their own life stories. And we all know how much we love our own mums, now times up by 1 million, and everyone out there who has deep stories and feelings for that person who's passed. And not everyone deals with the passing well. They can go into depression, and they've got people they need to support, their own children, but they may be really suffering with depression themselves. And so the hospice provides outreach to those people and psychological support after to ensure that they cope.
This is why I always take the opportunity to do a podcast like this, because it's just about that whole education. Hospices do so much more than you think.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, and you've hit the nail on the head. When somebody is living with a life-limiting illness, it's not just them that's living with it. It's the partner, it's the family, it's the surrounding members. And inevitably, when we lose our loved one, people's lives have to go forward. Now, I've been in this work long enough to know that sometimes within 6 months, some people are very positive and they've moved forward really well and they've coped really well, and you're quite shocked by that. There's other people, Mr. Sheely, that could be 2 years down the line and they haven't moved a day forward. So the idea behind our family support and bereavement services is to give people the tools to cope with their grief. And I'm not just talking about adults, I'm talking about many, many, many children as well. To give them that support to move forward. And all of those services are free of charge.
And that brings me on to the second thing that was really memorable. And that's kind of quite a cute segue there. I think that's the right or an audible, the transition from one topic to another, is that you told me, which blows me away, and I can't really believe it. I can believe it, obviously, but it's just like remarkable. You told me it takes £35,000 a day to have the hospice open and operating, assuming it's at capacity, filled up, all the beds are in, and all the medical care and the equipment and the maintenance and all the ins and outs, from cutting the trees and making sure that the car parks are usable and accessible, through to physically delivering medicine.
All running costs. And I don't even know if that's a correct figure. That's a kind of estimate.
God, that's a phenomenal amount.
But do you know what? Like, I'm a fundraiser at the hospice, and I try not to look at that mountain.
No, you can't.
Okay, what I do, because I think sometimes when you've got somebody that's doing a fundraiser and they're raising a couple of £100, if they know figures like that, they're going to think, well, do you know what? I'm not even scratching the surface. You can't think like that. You have to break it right down. So if somebody does something and they donate £100, for argument's sake, £5 is going to pay for a couple of patients' meals. Let's do it in a way that what you can achieve.
And do you know what as well? Is a couple of things here. One is, just getting comfortable. One is there's ripples in a pond, as it were. So when you make your effort with your charitable donation and you throw your stone in the pond, the ripples then trickle out to the edge. And what that means metaphorically is that the people that you've touched during your efforts to make a donation, who weren't otherwise aware of the hospice, might then become aware, then might say, oh, well, I'll do something. And then they get their £100 or 200 or 500. And all of a sudden, one of the people that they're aware of might be a big business who suddenly goes, I'm going to donate for whatever reason, whether it's tax saving and they want to give or whatever. There's 50 grand because they happen to be a multi-million-pound business. But you never know whether the £100 and the exposure you give through generating the £100, where that could go. So that's the ripples.
When I first came into fundraising, I thought it was going to all be about rattling a bucket,
banging on the
putting
doors,
a pound in, and then
dressing up as a fuzzy
or
teddy
perhaps
bear,
going around the community like I did, inviting people to get involved in the weekly lottery and the sponsor a nurse appeal. And these things are £1 a week or less. And it was only when I've been in the game for some time and you look at the figures that you've got to get to, it's not luck that you get there, it's strategic. I would now be considered 12 years down the line a professional fundraiser. So exactly what you're just saying about whether you're going into a school and you're introducing the children to gentle fundraising, or whether you're getting in front of a company that builds homes and they're in the position to donate £100,000, it's all important, it's all necessary, and it's all part of the show.
You never know. Because the dad at the school could be the owner of the business who does the houses, who can give the £100,000. So that's a big thing. And I was going to say second to that was that sometimes the donations might not necessarily be monetary, of course, because you can give time.
Greatest gift of all, isn't it?
Which saves money, which then means it's the offset, as it were, against that number. You can give other things like PPE or food, or I don't know what these things. What's acceptable, by the way.
Your old clothes,
food
your
might
old
not
this,
be it.
your old that.
Yeah.
It's never ending.
Do you know what I mean? And then that could make all the difference and do something. So it's just about understanding the ways to give as well, which is important, because everyone thinks charity has to just be money. And obviously that is what makes the world go round. But with all the things that you do as a hospice, there's so much more. And just to kind of touch on here, because then it leads us into one of the questions that you've got in terms of what you can do to help the hospice. And the question here is, of all the events that St. Francis Hospice gets involved with, what's your favourite? And we could talk around. But I know you do, for instance, a Christmas tree collection, which people help with, chuck trees on the back of lorries.
Yep.
That helps generate awareness and interest and funds, but isn't necessarily you having to raise another £100 again and ask people. So it's so much more than just going, oh, I'm just going to bang on people's doors for the second year in a row. I suppose I'm answering my own question here a little bit from before.
Well, you're learning already that everything is strategic. So, and again, the greatest gift that you could give anybody is your time.
Yeah.
So with the Christmas tree recycling, what we do is, although we do that in January, we start work on that the January before.
Wow, really?
Because we are recruiting businesses, we're recruiting vans, businesses that do removals and stuff like that. Guys that that actually the weekend that we do it, they turn up in their vans and they've got room to put the Christmas trees on. They have so much fun with it. It's incredible. That campaign raises thousands of pounds.
What happens? How does it work?
Okay. People say to me, how do you make money from recycling trees? Yeah. We don't. What happens is that people make a donation for us to take their tree away. So what happens is that someone goes out in December, buys a real tree, has it throughout the duration of Christmas, right? And then after Christmas is gone, they go, oh, I've got to get rid of this bloody tree, and if I put it in the car, the bristles are going to go everywhere, and I can't be bothered to take it to the dump.
It's worth £50 for them.
Right.
Some pick up.
And then they see this advert, and it's in, we do it in Havering in Brentwood at the moment because it started as a tiny pilot scheme and it's growing every single year. And I'll come back to the areas that St Francis Hospice cover, but at the moment we do the collections in Havering and Brentwood. So people register their tree. They basically say, come take my tree away. And they might do £5, £10, £15, £20, their choice. There's not a set fee, it's their choice. And what we do is we use a company that donate their time and they do all the routes for us. So there's no charge there. We have God knows how many volunteers that come in with their vans and we feed them breakfast in the morning in the canteen. And then they go out with these routes and they go around and they collect all these trees, and we have like 3 or 4 dropping points, right? Might be a local pub, it might be a local school, but we've secured all of that. This is why I'm saying we start working it from the January. They go to the dropping points, they drop them off, and there we have volunteer chippers, tree surgeons, things like that. And they're there, they give their time, they chip the trees, and that's the only bonus for them. Yes, they're giving their time, yes, they're giving their machinery, etc., but they could then go off and sell those chippings. We've already got the donation by then. See how it works?
Perfect. Thank you. So then, and that's just one thing. What is your most memorable or your favourite event that the hospice gets involved with in terms of ways of donating? Like, give us a feel for that. And then once you've answered that, can you give us a couple of other ways of activities a hospice does that we're just not aware of?
Sure. So by far and away, my favourite thing every single year is the London Marathon.
Boom.
Without any shadow of a doubt. And the reason it's become my favourite is because before I worked for the hospice, yes, I watched this event on television, but I'd never experienced what it was like. And then I do remember what I was told in the early days was, as staff, you are expected to volunteer on that day. You don't get paid for that day, which is right. And they would say to you, would you want to do the morning shift or the afternoon shift? The morning shift was about going down and setting up the cheer station. But if you only do the morning shift, you're not likely to see a lot of the runners passing you. If you do the afternoon shift, you've not had anything to do with setting up the station, but you're watching most of the hospice runners go past, as well as everybody else. But you're then involved in the taking down of the station. Me, I'm there from the minute we start to the minute we finish, because it's something I completely bought into from my first experience of it. It's a London day, first and foremost. London comes out to salute so many people. And I think originally I was kind of encouraged to go along and support hospice runners. Oh no, you support absolutely everybody. But you know what, Mr. Shealy, we have around about 30, what you class as 38 gold bond places. So people that run for the hospice with a target of how much they're going to raise. And it's always the same as the year you're in. So if you get a gold bond place from the hospice, you need to raise £2,023. So you do the math. If there's 38 people doing that, that's an awful lot of money for patient care. So it's
and that's
something,
the minimum, of course.
and that's the minimum. And then you get people that run, and their companies will match fund what they're doing. Then you get other people that applied by ballot, got their own place, but then get in touch with you and say, listen, my granddad was cared for at the hospice. I'd like to run in a hospice vest, and I'd like to raise money for you. And they're not part of that 38 people that we're talking about.
So that happens on top.
So that happens on top. So the marathon is like one of the biggest money spinners that we have. But it's so enjoyable, and you go on a journey. And like with me, it's my job to work with businesses and individuals and try and get them to do it. And you were on that journey with me, and there was me, you, and another 3, and that bond was just incredible. Incredible.
The Spartans.
The words, you can't put it into words. And I think when each and every one of you passed me at that cheer station, the emotions were incredible. I could fill up now talking about it. But it's such a selfless thing to do. Because yes, it's on your CV that you completed the marathon. But what you actually achieved, I'm getting emotional, what you achieved by doing it for our patients and our patients' families cannot be summarised. It's life-changing. So I love the marathon for everything that it is. All the emotions that go into it, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the determination. I remember at the 11th hour, you got injured.
Yeah. 3 weeks out.
And I was like, oh my God. And the reality is there is somebody that works within my team that was doing it this year. And now, we're only weeks away from the race now.
Yeah.
And Monday night, she got ruled out for injury. She's absolutely devastated.
What happened?
The last few weeks of training, she was getting lots of swelling, lots of pain. And she was seeing all the right people, the physios, and she got put into a space boot for about a week.
Oh.
Just keep walking on it and blah, 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 no running. And then they were going to take the boot off, and then she had to do a 5K and see how she reacted. She's in incredible pain. There is no way. They said even if she gets, let's say, 16 miles round, she might have to stop then. So she's deferred to next year. She's utterly devastated.
Such an effort. Such a big effort as well to get that close. Oh, my God.
So it's a journey. And you and I, we've lived that journey. I think we became stronger and closer as a result of it. But ultimately, like I said, although you got to participate in the London Marathon, train, succeed, for me, it was what you was doing it for. Yeah. Yeah. Because I get to see the benefit.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. What other things you do then? London Marathon. I know you do a winter ball to get like more corporate businesses and people around there. Like just rattle off
so much.
10 things.
So much. So there's
people get a feel for it. So
there's like a ladies' midnight walk around Romford. It's been going on for years. We'll do so that's marshalled. It's not a man's event, but the fire brigade are there and the ladies come out. And again, what's special is a lot of those ladies, they walk and there's a picture of their loved one on the back of their T-shirt. You can see why they're doing it. So you have the late night walk. Then you've got the people that have got their dogs. We do an event called Wolves and Wellies. And again, my role, I got that sponsored by a local business. They put that event on, Wolves and Wellies. People come out, we go to Epping Forest, all the beautiful dogs, and we have a walk. And they're all paying their money, but it all raises money for patient care. Then you've got challenge events, bike rides, people that do London to Brighton, London to Paris. And then you've got skydives. Now, foolishly, I found myself in a position that I'll be doing the skydive this year.
Amazing.
I haven't told you that yet.
I'd love to do a skydive.
But what happened there was, again, I toured a local Havering business who I'd been meeting at networking groups, and they kind of picked up on little bits that I'd been saying and was like, do you know what? We'd like to come down and see the hospice. Come down. I invited them down. I toured them round. I showed them the work that was going on. They were absolutely inspired, and they said, okay, we want to get our fundraising journey up and running, but don't ask us to run. We're not runners. I said, that's fine. They said, what other challenge events have you got? I said, do you want to jump out of a plane? Oh my God, they'd love to do that. One of them already had. One of them, it was on their bucket list. So straight away they was like, well, when is this? I was like, 14th of May this year. Great. So straight away I found their fit. even though they are website designers, this is what they want to do. I found their fit. They're going to do their bit, right? They flipped the coin. They turned around and went, I'll tell you what, we'll do it if you do it.
So you're doing it.
So
how do you feel about heights?
I hate heights. But you know what? For 12 years, I've been trying to encourage individuals, groups, businesses to fundraise for the hospice. I think it's time for me to step out of my comfort zone and do exactly what I ask people to do. I'm terrified, I'm mortified, etc. But actually, I'm going to do this because of all the people that have ever touched me in my time of working at the hospice. And even for those who I've seen laying in a bed who can no longer move, I'm going to do it for them.
Nice.
I'm going to do it for them.
Give us some other things that the hospice does. Just rattle them off. It's fine. Just so people can go, oh, Wolfs and Wellies, like, I'll do that. Just give us a quick fire.
Yeah.
We do this.
Do you know the best thing to do to anybody that's watching this podcast or listening? And I would guide everybody like this. Go to all the W's, sfh.org.uk. On our website is anything and everything relating to the hospice.
It's all listed.
So I could tell you all the different aspects of fundraising that we do, whether that's as a community fundraiser, a corporate fundraiser, a major donors, legacy, events, but it's all on the website. So whether you are a businessman that's in a position to do more, whether you are an individual that loves a challenge event, you can go Kilimanjaro, you can walk the peaks in this country. It all can be done for your local hospice. It's just about you work with the fundraising team and you say, look, this is what I want to achieve. How do I go about it? And 9 times out of 10, it's about setting up a Just Giving page and asking your friends, your family, your work colleagues to support you in whatever you endeavour to do. And this is how we do it.
And that's it. What's your strongest memory of a time at the hospice, please?
So this is back when I was a community fundraiser. I was working in the Mercury Mall shopping centre in Romford. In them days, I used to promote the weekly lottery and the sponsor a nurse appeal, and we also have a memory tree. Do you remember me showing you the memory tree?
Yes. Yeah.
So I used to donate those 3 things, and those 3 things all bring in regular direct debits, only of £3 a month or £4.34 a month or whatever people can afford. But I used to have a little podium, and I'd stand in the shopping centre, and people would approach me because, like I said, St Francis Hospice is respected in the communities it looks after, which is Havering, Brentwood, Barking and Dagenham, Redbridge, parts of West Essex. So I could be working in any of those shopping centres. But this particular day, I was in the Mercury Mall in Romford, and a lady came forward, like many, many people did at that time, and she said to me, do you know, young man? And I hadn't been called young man in some time. And she said, do you know, young man? She said, I was the first person to ever marry at the hospice. Wow. I was like, wow, do tell. She said, okay. Story goes like this. She said, me and my husband were blissfully happy. We had our date booked. We had our venue booked. We had everything in place. And my husband had asked his own brother to be best man at the wedding. During the course of all these plans and preparations, just like my friend's mum, the brother got very sick, and by now was having hospice care. So the brother was on our wards, and it became very clear that he wasn't going to make it to the desired date. So it was actually the brother and the wife that came to the medical team at the hospice and said, look, really, really, really want my brother to be best man at the wedding. Is there a way that we can have him out for the day medically? Is that possible? And they were like,
not really.
No, he was very sick. But somebody got the idea, because we've got the chapel quiet space, that we'd be able to bring in a local registrar and we could have the wedding there. And so the first time this had ever been done, it all happened. And that couple got married at St Francis Hospice, and the brother was the best man at the wedding.
Wow.
And they come back every single year on the anniversary to make a donation, to be in the chapel quiet space, to remember his brother. But that was a turning point because that's now been one of many. But I think that was for me, that's a really strong memory. And when the woman recounted the story, I was like, wow.
Bowled over.
Speechless.
Mm.
Again, I said it earlier in the podcast, hospices do so much more than you think.
Yeah.
And things like that become a reality. So strong memory.
Nice. Wonderful. I know as part of the initiatives that the hospice takes on, you set up various promotional initiatives. I say use the word again. Emotional promotional initiatives. One of them being the Hospice 100.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that
Yep.
and how it applies, and is it limited to 100 or just go for it?
That's my baby.
Oh, is it?
That's my baby.
That was your...
It's nothing new. There are other charities that are doing it, but it hasn't been done at St Francis Hospice before. And so, because I am now, like I said, my role now, I've done many in the time there, but my role now is the small to medium-sized businesses. So my plan, and what I'm going to try to do, is to recruit 100 successful businesses that are in the position to pledge to raise a minimum of £1,000 over a period of 12 months. So they haven't got to do it all in the first month.
Which is nothing, really.
It's achievable.
Yeah.
It's achievable.
Yeah.
So again, at school, English I was great, maths was not my strong point. But I do know this. If I can get 100 businesses doing £1,000 a year, that's £100,000.
How many have you got?
32.
Really?
32. And I'm only kind of maybe 2 years into it. So it's a project. I'm going to do it, Mr. Sheedy. I'm going to do it. If it's, you know, I think that will be, if I can, that will be my legacy.
What's the thing? What do you think the biggest? I don't know. Ignorantly, I would have thought that people would just be going, "Oh, I'm in." Like, you know, what's the thing? With respect to businesses and people, money's tight and life is difficult, and so we can't prejudge the fact that
everyone can do it.
Everyone can do it. Thank you. But I'd imagine that is perhaps one of the easier things to do as a business. If any business out there, you know, if we all think about the money that we waste in business, which everyone does in some way or another, you know, without being aware of it, that you'd think that would be the easiest thing in the world, even if you didn't raise a single penny as a business and you just had to put your hand in your pocket at the end of the year and donate £1,000, that you just put as a business £100 away a month. I mean, I'm just going to tell you.
Well, the direct debit, if you want to do it, it's £84.
Can I just say now, I'm going to get on that, please.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't anticipate that, but while we're here and I'm feeling jazzed up.
However,
I want to be in that.
There's a part to it I want to explain.
Okay. Do I have to get a
really
tattoo?
No. Really important.
Do I have to get branded?
Nope. I love the fact that you came in orange anyway today anyway.
I'm all in.
But here's the thing with the Hospice 100. It's not just about donating to the hospice. Oh, no. It's a partnership. We're building partnerships.
Well, you're part of the ecosystem.
So what happens is that as a part, that the perks of being in the 100 Club is that you receive an exclusive logo that can be used on your business stationery, on your social media formats, on your vans, on your trucks if you want to. But it displays to the community that you are a proud member of the Hospice 100 Club, right? We also have on our website, which I can more or less guarantee you gets a lot more traffic than your website, right? Your logo with a link to your website. So our supporters get to see what our supporters are doing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a partnership. Yes, you're donating to the hospice, but we are also exposing your business, right? It's probably the cheapest form of advertising you'll ever make as a business owner, because for what you're doing, you're getting mass exposure. We're coming up to this July is our 39th year as a charity. We have to be very careful who we get into bed with, because we are a very, very strong brand. We're a respected brand. When people see our charity and realise that they can be a partner with that charity, that itself has huge perks. It's exposure. And at the end of the day, businesses they're succeeding, but they're also getting mass exposure by being connected to St Francis Hospice. and the partnerships are working wonders. When I get into conversation with business owners, they're like, it's a no-brainer.
So why? And like, knowing that you are an expert marketeer and a promotional person without parallel, without comparison, 2 years in, 34,
32, I think.
32, 33. So I'm in, 100%, it's done.
But I'm more positive than negative. I'm over 25% there.
Oh, yeah.
Way there.
But what I want to expose here
Yes.
is for the benefit of people listening, so that they can think, oh, why do you think, what's the thing stopping, because you must be talking about it all the time, what's stopping businesses just jumping on for £84 a month for donation, for the tax break of £1,000 off their tax bill, for exposure in a community, for well-being, for being part of the ecosystem, and being linked to other things happening. What's
stopping them?
Yeah, please.
Education.
Okay.
Education. They don't necessarily. There's so many charities.
I just thought it would have been like, yep.
There's so many charities out there, and they all have a good reason to be supported. And I'm not naive to that, right? Okay. When I was a community fundraiser and I was doing work in the local banks and things like that, I was in Barkingside High Street. I'd be in the Halifax, the Barclays, the NatWests. I used to do this as regular work. But in Barkingside High Street is where they train the guide dogs. Now, those dogs change people's lives. Where's your argument for not supporting them? I get that. So all I can do is constantly keep my charity in the running, right? But you're saying why? It's the education.
And I mean that in the nicest way.
It's the education. All I need to do, or all I attempt to do, is get in front of business owners and explain why we need their support. Is it achievable? This is what it achieves. Would you like to be a part of that?
Yeah.
And at the same time, we'll raise your profile while we're doing it.
Yeah.
And trust me, Mr. Shealy, I've seen that happening. I've seen people benefit as a result of being partnered with St Francis Hospice. Do
you know what any business could do if someone's looking for inspiration? Is you could, every single invoice you send out, because what do I see? Where do I see it? And I think, oh God, they always get me. I think it's like McDonald's. It annoys me with McDonald's. Well, it doesn't annoy me, but they always have a little button on the screen. Do you want to round up?
Yeah, sure.
Like a 13p, and it goes into their, whatever they support as a thing.
But in my career, I tried that. I've tried that with local restaurants and things like that. Would you be interested in just like the people that come and eat in your restaurant, round it up? So, but
optional.
But when you are just a local charity, and I don't say just because I feel personally we're monumentous, but when you're just a local charity, it doesn't necessarily get on people's radar.
Or like even 3% on an invoice. If you click the box, would you be happy to donate 3%, so that when they sign up, they tick that box, and the person could go, hi there, thanks for confirming you want to go ahead. I just want to ask, of the £1,000 you're about to engage with us in for a job, would you be happy if I add 3% onto that for a donation to the local hospice, which is, 30 quid, and we can guarantee that would go, and like
no brainer.
Anyway, I appreciate there's awareness and education and comfort and all these different things, but it just strikes me like, or even if, God dare I say it, a business just added 3% onto their invoices, knowing that 3%, when they get invoiced, they put it into a separate account, and then it's just money that goes straight to the hospice every year. That's possible.
It's just education. It's exactly like you said. I mean, you're a business owner, right? There are massive, massive tax benefits to supporting a charity, right? So from my perspective, I just have to be in the running to make sure that business owners are aware that they can, if they've done well, they can do good.
Do you know what? One of the things that I think was perhaps the easiest thing I discovered for helping you out was the hospice, was Amazon Smile. Amazing.
Funny enough, they've brought that campaign to a close.
You're joking.
They have.
Why?
Who knows? But it was very successful. And you're right. That people just didn't realise that every purchase that you ever made on Amazon, you could actually make it on Amazon Smile and select a charity of your choice. And we were doing okay. Amazon have pulled that campaign.
We don't know why. Isn't it funny? Anyway, so if you're a business out here listening to this, because I just assumed, honestly, oh yeah, that 100 must be like snapped up. And that's why when I started this little segment, I said, how many over are you? Because I'm thinking, well, you get to 100 and you don't want to go, oh, we're going to call it Hospice 200 or something. I thought you might be going, oh, well, Hospice 100, we've got 150 businesses, and like it would just be obvious. And the fact you told me you've got 33 or 34, I'm shocked, because I know you're doing everything you can do. So I'm shocked that businesses aren't jumping on.
But you are in that 32 already.
Am I?
Yes, because of what you did last year.
Oh, well, but
yeah,
okay, I wasn't aware.
Of course you are, because you know how much you raised, right? But the idea, of course, is that it's ongoing. If I can, what I'm trying to do, here's a really important thing. There were great people long before me that got St Francis Hospice up and running. There were great people that have been part of the fundraising team for many, many years. It's just my time now. It's just my time now. So what I really need to do is play my part in securing the future of St Francis Hospice. So if I can get all of these businesses on board who are committing to do a minimum of £1,000 over a period of 12 months and keep doing it, and I can get to the £100,000 that's coming in regular, then that's a huge step.
How many people are you helping with that? It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Unaccountable.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do, see, when I get to the point when I retire, I don't want to look back and go, I could have done more. That's what I want to achieve. I want to get to 100. That's my goal. And I'm still hungry and I'm still fresh, and I'm gonna do it. I've got every intention of doing it.
And you will.
And when I get to 100, I'm gonna have a long lay down.
No, you're not. You're going to go to 2, because I know what you're like. You'll be like, right, 100 in. Thank you very much. What's next? What's your current role, Andy, at the moment? I mean, are you chief? Are you the CPO, the Chief Positivity Officer?
I've never been called that before.
No.
Do you know what?
Or C3PO?
Seriously?
Yes.
I'm just a member of the team. I am part of the local engagement team at the moment. There are 4 of us that work in my office. I'm one of that 4. Local engagement is exactly...
Do you want to name them?
Oh, God, yeah.
Cool.
We've got... Lisa is the kind of manager of the team. We've got little Charlotte, who was the one who was... I call her little Charlotte because she's a little pocket rocket. But Charlotte was the one that was doing the marathon.
Okay, yeah.
And Sean, who you've met many times.
Yeah.
All very infectious people, great personalities, and I think that's really important. To do our role, there's no point if you're going to be someone that sits in the corner very shy. You've got to be out there. You've got to love what you do. There's a really important word in fundraising, and that's fun.
Oh, great.
So you've got to have fun while you're raising money. Yeah. So I'm one of 4, but we are the local engagement team. It's exactly what it says on the tin. It's anybody locally that wants to engage with St Francis Hospice, however, whether that's an individual, whether it's a school, whether it's a Rotary Club, whether it's a business, whether it's a major donor, anybody that wants to engage with the hospice by way of support is who we work with. Anybody and everybody, however large, however small. That's my role.
Okay. And you're pushing on strong, And what are your hopes for the future of the hospice? I mean, obviously you must have personal hopes, and there must be more broader directors' dreams for the hospice as well. So do you want to give us a bit of a feel for your personal hopes? I don't know if you've got we talked about some of the goals you want to do, but if you've got a specific goal you're looking to hit this year, 2023.
No, I don't look bigger than that. When you said what's my hopes, I can summarise that. This country changed during COVID-19. Many businesses went out of work. Many people's lives changed forever. And there was a really... God, this gets me upset. There was a really significant day. We lost a hospice in this country. The doors closed. And that was purely financial.
Were they part of the St Francis Hospice?
No. The hospice movement, this is the great thing. We're not in competition with one another. So, like I said earlier, it's all about the boundaries that you live as to what hospice you would go to. So we all support one another. Every year there is a conference where all hospice fundraisers get together from all over the country. So you meet you, but just at another hospice. And
oh God, must be.
It's brilliant, but you exchange ideas. And,
the energy in the room must be ridiculous.
Oh, it's mad. But you learn so much. You learn of people's successes. You learn of people's failures. But the hospice movement is so important in this country, and that day was a very, very sad day. So I never ever want to see that happen to St Francis Hospice. It's too important to its community. So I look at the long-term picture. We have to make sure. Here's a really important thing. St Francis Hospice is not about the doctors and the nurses. It's not about the domestics. It's not about the gardeners. It's not about the drivers. It's not about the fundraisers. St Francis Hospice is about the people that need it. And we have to make sure that it's always there for the people that need it. Now, that all comes down to funding. Now, this is something we haven't touched on yet, but I'll tell you now. We're not different to any other hospice in this country. We receive around 28% of our running costs from the NHS and the government combined. So if you flip that, you've got to raise over 70% in voluntary income. It's a challenge that we take on every year, and we don't duck from it. But without all of the support that we get from even individuals like yourself, the people that need it won't get it. So it's imperative that we keep the hospice running. That's it, in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to kind of think, if people listening to this and you're a business or an individual, and you could just think a bit like saying, oh, this year I need to eat a bit healthier. I'm going to just change my diet and make a small change. Or I'm going to start doing a bit of fitness, and you're going to change your habit. What habit could you change in your business or the way you operate that might just be something that you can do to generate a bit of fundraising for a hospice or St Francis Hospice?
Easy. Staff fundraising.
Of course.
So everybody in this country...
Could be anything.
Have an orange day. Go orange. We do it all the time with our businesses. So what happens is they select one day a year, and they say, so for argument's sake, I'm going to tell you it's a skips company that I work with. They're a group, actually. Skip company. But one day a year, they have their fundraising day. Every member of staff has to come in something orange. They have to. They bake orange cakes. They do this. They do that. Mr. Sheely, they raise thousands.
Really?
It's phenomenal, right? All the drivers of all the skips, they have to wear orange. Within their cabs, there has to be something orange. They all buy into it. And it's their orange day. And it's just to support the local hospice. Why? Why? Because Mr. Sharp at the top of the tree became ill and was cared for at St Francis Hospice. At that point, the business decided, do you know what? We need to do something. And now they make sure that all sorts of people get the same care that Mr. Sharp got. It's not rocket science.
No.
It's emotional, but it's being connected. And this is what they do. They are phenomenal. And funny enough, they've come to mind because they are my front runner in the Hospice 100. Although I say a minimum of £1,000, a lot of businesses do a lot more.
I'm sure they do.
But I don't put that pressure on them to do that. If everybody does their little bit, we get there.
That's amazing. It's very inspiring talking to you, isn't it? I feel all enthralled and filled up, like with desire to want to get involved. I can see it. It's just ebbs from you, like radiates from you. Your aura is orange.
Oh, that's a very sweet thing to say.
I mean that in a very
No,
nice
that's a
way
really
as well.
sweet thing to say. Listen, as I said, I'm coming up for 12 years there now. And I'm quite fortunate that my CEO will pull me to one side and she lets me know that she feels she knows my value. These are not my words because I'm quite uncomfortable with that. But she'll say to me, there isn't anywhere that I go that people are not familiar with you. She said, yes, we've got all of the clinical team here, but when you're out there in the community, it's like you're one of the faces of the hospice. People see you, they speak to you about their journey. You take that all on board, you inspire people to do stuff for us. And she's like, I'm not necessarily sure you know the importance that you play within our charity, but I do, she says. And that's nice.
That's it, isn't it? That's all you need to hear as well. Not that that's the reason why, but it just lets you know that it's recognised. And I mean, as I said, your whole being and the way you are and your personality and how you conduct yourself and the levels that you're able to operate at emotionally, business-like, your business acumen with all of that as well. You were born to do this. Honestly, I look at how you conduct yourself, and you was born to do this.
And yet, you know what? It's never for the salary. You will never find a charity fundraiser that's earning phenomenal money. Certainly not at my level. You don't do the job for the money. Not at all. Not at all. If I'm really honest, when I'm doing my DJing outside of that work, when I do my promotions, it's possible that I can make more money in that way. But this is what it's all about for me. This is what it's all about. So,
deep. What's your favourite song, Andy?
Ever?
When you're in the shower on your own, no one's listening, and you feel brave enough to hit those high notes.
I'm always brave.
But you know what I mean? Like that moment you go, is anyone listening? I'm going to go, hey. Like, what's your favourite song? What do you revert to?
There's a song by Janet Kay called Silly Games.
Silly Games?
Yeah. But she hits incredibly high notes in that song, so I don't attempt to. I just bob along with it.
Oh, do you? But
it's one of those songs, and this is your homework for the day. It's one of those songs from when the song comes on, it just bobs along really nicely.
Well, you're going to sing it for me, aren't you?
No.
Of course you are.
No, I'm not a singer.
All right. Well, you are going to sing it.
Oh.
Because we're on a podcast.
Okay. So it goes something like,
I've
been wanting you for so long, it's a shame. Oh, baby, every time I hear your name, oh, the shame.
Go on.
Boy, how it hurts me inside. That's all you're getting.
You haven't got to the chorus yet. We need to finish.
No, because it goes really high.
Just do that. Come on. Just 30 seconds more.
She says something like, but I've got no time to play your silly games. See? Now you've embarrassed me.
You went a little bit red there.
See?
Because it's only me. It's only me.
You're taking me out of my comfort zone
5 million people watching your
If you
video.
wanted me to rap, that wouldn't be a problem.
Go on, do that bit of that.
I say, you see, you need someone who's there like a gentleman. If anybody fits the description, baby, I can. Someone who cares and dares to be with you. I can do it. But again, you see, I weren't playing there. So
it's good. I like it. Round of applause.
Listen.
Oh, 1 second. No, they shouldn't be doing laughing at you. Yes.
To be fair, here's the thing. This is a great little story for the podcast. There is a guy within our business group who's also a drummer in a band.
Terry Chimes.
No, I'm talking about Jerry.
Jerry.
So Jerry and his band decided to do a fundraiser for St Francis Hospice. The Accents.
The Accents. Yes.
And Mr. Shealy can hold a tune. So he decides.
I can hold it and I can drop it.
He decides he's going to do 2 numbers on the night. Nobody knew that you were doing 2 numbers. Mustang Sally and Dancing in the Moonlight. Am I right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Very
so
nervous.
Me, being the idiot that I am, turned round to all these professional musicians and went, do you think the band could do Rapper's Delight? And they were like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if the band can do Rapper's Delight, I'll get up and do it. Thinking that this would just... And the next thing I know, me and you are in a rehearsal studio and I feel like a right plum.
Can I tell a story about this?
Go on.
Because here's me. Okay, a couple of things on this. This is really interesting. I like this story. From a personal perspective, singing in public is a challenge for me. I feel very conscious about it. And I like to sing and I like to have a tune. I wouldn't say I'm very good, but I can hold a note a little bit. And so it was very much a push for me. And I had this dream or this concept in my mind that on the day of the gig, the 2 songs I'd do, because I've been to rugby club do's in the past when I was younger, you know, all the lights are off and you've got some lights at the front, a little smoke machine. You can barely hear anything. There are people in the corners getting hold of each other and like, you know, you can kind of hide. And so when we turned up at the rugby club for this event, this gig, it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon and everyone was sitting down talking like it was the wake of a funeral or something like that. And I thought, oh my God.
This is not how I imagined.
This is not how I imagined it.
And there was nowhere to hide.
There was literally nowhere to hide. And I'm sweating slightly now. My body's reacting to the nerves, and I'm walking around talking to people, and they're going, oh, you can have a song? I'm like, yeah, I am. And I'm thinking, Mustang Sally's not the kind of song you do halfway. You don't go into it going, Mustang Sally. You got to go into it deep, otherwise. And so I stood up there for the first song, which was Mustang Sally, at about 6:30 in the afternoon, with everyone and their grandma and little kids sitting around like it's a little bit of a seance, or we were at a book club or something. And I'm like, right, we're about to go into a bit of Mustang Sally. And I did it, and my knees were shaking. I could feel my leg quivering under my body as I was doing it, like a dog who's a bit excited as I was singing. Now, I go into this story a little bit. So that was my experience of it. And then obviously the second song I did, I was a bit more relaxed, but still nervous. And I never...
You did Top Loader, didn't you?
Top Loader, yeah. I never managed to learn all the words because I was too nervous. I had my mobile phone out looking like an absolute plonker. The one bit of advice Terry Chimes of The Clash gave me, who drummed on the night, said to me, next time you do that, Andrew, learn the lyrics.
Learn the words.
Learn the words. So anyway, what was the funny bit about this story was we did some... practice. We practice, and I like practicing. I want to throw myself into it. Now, FURNEAUX over here, or Yes, as I like to call him, rocked up. Hello, mate. What are you doing here? Oh, you know me. I'm doing Rapper's Delight. All right. So I'm sitting there. He rocks in, set of shades on his head like he's done it before. Entourage with him. No, I'm lying. But he walked in, very confident. Right, guys, I better think about this. This is how it's going to go. I'll go boom, 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 boom. And if you don't mind stopping there and coming in there and doing that, and then they were like, yeah, okay. And then, right, and that's how we'll do it. No problem. Right, let's get up. And he jumped up on the stage, and I'm sitting there in the audience. I think I had a slice of pizza at the point. You've gone, right, 1, 2, 3, boom. And they've gone, whatever. And you've done Rapper's Delight. You smashed it out in one go. Like you could tell either this is one of these things you've done all your life in the car, or you've done it before because you just hit it one time. You went, right, we're done. Are you happy with that? Yeah, we're happy. Right, I'll see you later. And you walked out. And I was like, I've been here for 2 hours practicing, and you just rock in, rock out. And on the night, you blew everyone away.
Let me tell you something, right? In my head and in my body, that played out completely different, right? So I walked in that room and I saw some very professional musicians, and I was thinking when I was sitting there watching them rehearse, what the hell am I doing here? I'm way out of my depth, and these guys are not necessarily going to respect me because they're good at their craft, right? And I was sitting and I was actually getting quite the opposite to what you're thinking. I was getting quite nervous. The nearer and nearer it was getting to my rehearsal, I was thinking I'm going to make such a plum of myself. But actually what I did was I just got on the stage and just did it.
Yeah, but your natural ability carries you
and the
well.
band were a bit like, wow. And actually someone turned around and said, I think you might need to show the lead singer a bit of your stagecraft and all that. And I was like, oh. But, yeah, and so I just remember on the night when we did it and you had all those nerves, I just wanted to get up and do it.
Yeah.
So maybe it was slightly different there.
Yeah, you smashed it out of the
But
park.
doing it with a live band was completely different. It was great fun. Great fun.
Well, you can perform, can't you? I'm hoping they do another one this
They are
year.
doing another one.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'd like to do another song. I've got one in mind that I might practice a bit more and sing it in a key that suits me, as opposed to getting high notes and
suits you, sir.
Screeching. Yes. But that's good. That's good. That was amazing. And you raised some great money that night.
No, Jerry and Leah.
I mean, like...
They raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
Again, as a fundraiser, what you do is you guide people with what they want to do.
Yeah.
So Jerry said, look, I want to put this gig on. Great. And we did it, raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. And a lot of fun was had while we were doing it.
And that's the best way to do it, isn't it? When people are having a good time, it's just, if you can do something like that for charity and have a great time at the same time, then it's just the best way.
Do you know what one of my lasting memories of that night is?
Tell me.
After you'd performed and after I'd performed, we relaxed a lot more.
We had a good dance.
We were pogoing and all sorts. Your wife was there.
Oh, yeah.
We were all jumping about like lunatics.
Yeah, I remember.
That was the best part.
I'm surprised I didn't jump up on your shoulders, Andy.
Well, I think you attempted to, but it was tremendous fun.
Yeah, it was.
Lasting memory.
It was.
Again, this goes back to, we've been here talking about the hospice, but all of that and all that fun that we had and the great music that we heard, that was all for the benefit of patient care.
Why not? But you know what would be amazing is to get the accents out in the courtyard of your hospice and then to do an open air gig.
It's another idea, isn't it?
I don't know even if that would fly, and I don't know, noise pollution and or patients who just wouldn't be able to handle the drum. But it would be phenomenal if it was kind of one of those things that everyone was
slightly
able to.
different to the beautiful Christmas carol concert that we
Yes, but people might enjoy that. I can imagine it would be a remarkable event to put on.
Horses for courses, Mr. Shealy.
Listen, we've been going for a good hour and 25 minutes now, and I've got one more question. I feel like
feel like you've covered most angles.
Yeah, if you're happy.
We could have gone all day. One more question is cool.
I'd like to just really stress how people can help and where they can find out more. And I'd like to leave that as the last point, then you really articulate that so people can go, okay, if I'm going to walk away with one thing, it's going to be, how do I make a step to help? And what's the easiest way to do it?
Okay. The easiest way, current day, is we're on every kind of social media format. So whether that's Twitter, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's LinkedIn.
TikTok?
That's not started as yet. There's an idea for us. But the normal social media formats, St Francis Hospice is part of all of that. You can see all of our activity daily. But our website is powerful. www.sfh.org.uk. Just take a look on there. There are so many ways that you can get involved, from fundraising to donating to volunteering, because there's around about 800 volunteers within the hospice, to working for us, all sorts. Every avenue is on there. If you don't understand enough about what hospices do, there are lots of stories on there. There are lots of patient stories. There are journeys on there. It will really open your mind, and more importantly, it will open your heart. And I think that once you understand what a hospice does for its community, for its patients and its patients' families, you'll understand why it needs supporting, because it will touch 1 in 3 of us, whether that's your friend, whether it's your relative, whether it's your neighbour. So it's really important whether people are getting a support on the inpatient unit, whether they're receiving hospice at home with the nurses going into their homes, whether they're an outpatient that comes in to the day clinic and accesses all the services. All of that needs support. Take a moment out of your day, have a read, and see what hospices do for their community, because with such little input, you can make such a massive difference.
Wow. You're aspiring man. You're so amazing. It's amazing. Guys, if you're with us this far on this amazing journey of this podcast, it's been ups and downs, some really emotional moments and remarkable stories. Just really, I hope you've got something from it. I hope you've learnt a lot more about Mr. FURNEAUX and the wonderful human being he is, as well as the hospice and what they do over there in all hospices. And hopefully you may be inspired to just take a moment today to think about what you're going to do to change your daily routine, to put in place something that might support a hospice, and in a perfect world, because we're here today, St Francis Hospice. Then take that action. Log on to the website, call the hospice up. You can Google search them as well, of course. And just say, I'd like to start. I think for anyone listening who's a business owner, the Hospice 100 would be the absolute easiest thing for £84 a month to be part of the pool of businesses who are creating £100,000+ a year, assuming you actually manage to raise some money as opposed to just paying £84 a month. It's just so easy, and you do actually get some promotion from the website as well, so why not? I mean, I'm just going to jump on that more directly myself now. As much as I've raised some stuff for the charity, I want to get more involved to know on an annual basis. I think that'd be so easy to get into. So take a moment, do something different with your day, make a difference to someone else, and get involved.
And can I just say, thank you very much for inviting me onto the podcast. I take these opportunities because there is so much that people can learn. There is so much that people can understand. We're all human beings. We're all on this planet together. But I have this philosophy that a little bit of human kindness goes a long way. My old mum, God rest her soul, she used to say to me, boy, because she was a proper Londoner,
Yeah, love
boy, always look around. There's always people worse off than yourself. And that philosophy's kind of stayed with me. So I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to come on, speak about the work that I do. Thank you, sir. And that little bit of exposure. Because if as you say, if there's one or two people that have stuck with this and have listened and have thought, do you know what? I'm going to do something, then it was worth it.
Good man.
Thank you.
Good man. Should we sing it out?
What do you want to sing?
I said bye,
Miss American Pie, rolled the Chevy to the levee,
but the levee was dry.
and them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Not planned at all.
Love that. We've got a duet coming.
See?
I can tell. That's
Okay.
going to be the thing. We'll do a duet.
There you go.
Learn something new.
There you go.
Guys, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Mr. Furneaux.
Thank you
What
very
a
much.
joy. And until next time, take care.
God bless. Thank
Bye-bye.
you very much.
Bye-bye.